In the dawn of time, when the universe was still in its infancy, there existed a race known as the Valari. They were ancient beings, nearly as old as the stars themselves, and they considered themselves the guardians of the cosmos. For billions of years, they observed the rise and fall of countless civilizations across galaxies, cataloging their progress and occasionally intervening to guide or protect them from self-destruction. They had seen it all: glorious empires, tragic extinctions, and the slow, inexorable decay of the universe's most brilliant lights. One day, in a distant spiral galaxy, the Valari came across a new species. They were small, fragile creatures living on a blue-green planet orbiting an unremarkable star. The Valari had seen countless such worlds, but something about these beings intrigued them. They called themselves Etherians, and despite their primitive tools and rudimentary knowledge of the cosmos, they possessed an indomitable spirit and an insatiable curiosity. The Valari decided to watch them closely, adding them to their grand register, a list of species with the potential to ascend to greatness. For eons, the Etherians lived in peace, slowly advancing from stone tools to metal, from fire to steam, and eventually to the stars. They were a peaceful race, preferring to explore and learn rather than conquer and destroy. The Valari were pleased with their progress, and as time passed, they began to see in the Etherians the possibility of a new ally, perhaps even equals in the grand tapestry of the universe. But as the Etherians expanded into the stars, they encountered other species, some friendly, others hostile. They learned of war, of betrayal, and of the darkness that lurked within their own hearts. Yet, despite the challenges, the Etherians continued to grow, both in knowledge and in power. The Valari watched with a mixture of pride and trepidation, for they knew that with great power came great danger. After several millennia, the Etherians had become one of the most advanced species in the galaxy. They had mastered technologies that allowed them to manipulate the very fabric of space and time, and their fleets were unmatched in speed and strength. They had also begun to experiment with life itself, creating new forms of intelligence, both biological and artificial. The Valari, though wary, still believed in the Etherians' potential for good and continued to monitor their progress. Then one day, the Valari returned to the Etherian homeworld, only to find it deserted. The once vibrant cities were silent, the great starships lay dormant, and there was no sign of life anywhere. The Valari searched the planet and its surrounding systems, but the Etherians had vanished without a trace. It was as if they had simply ceased to exist. Perplexed and saddened, the Valari continued their search, expanding it to the far reaches of the galaxy. It was then that they discovered the truth. The Etherians had not vanished, they had ascended to a higher plane of existence, leaving behind the material universe and all its limitations. They had achieved what the Valari had always dreamed of but never dared to attempt. In their new state, the Etherians had become beings of pure energy, capable of traversing the multiverse and reshaping reality with their thoughts. They no longer needed ships or planets, they were the stars themselves, the very essence of the cosmos. The Valari marveled at this transformation, but they also felt a deep sense of loss. The Etherians were no longer the curious, fragile beings they had once nurtured. They had become something beyond comprehension, something no longer bound by the rules of the universe. Centuries passed, and the Valari continued their work, cataloging new species and guiding them as they had the Etherians. But always, they remembered the race that had ascended, and they wondered, would they ever see the Etherians again? And if they did, would they even recognize them? One day, as the Valari were exploring a distant galaxy, they encountered a massive structure unlike anything they had ever seen. It was a colossal ring, spanning light-years in diameter, encircling a black hole at the center of the galaxy. The ring was made of a material unknown to the Valari, and it emitted a faint, pulsing glow that seemed to resonate with the very fabric of the universe. As the Valari approached the structure, they felt a presence, familiar, yet incomprehensible. It was then that they realized this was the work of the Etherians. The ring was a construct of their design, a bridge between the material universe and the higher plane they now inhabited. The Valari attempted to communicate with the Etherians, but their messages were met with silence. It was as if the Etherians were aware of their presence but chose not to respond. Undeterred, the Valari began to study the ring, hoping to understand its purpose and the nature of the beings who had created it. Over time, they discovered that the ring was more than just a bridge, it was a gateway. The Etherians had built it as a means to interact with the material universe, to observe, and if necessary, to intervene. The Valari realized that the Etherians had not abandoned their former home, they were still watching, still guiding, but from a place beyond time and space. The Valari, humbled and awed by the Etherians' achievement, pledged to protect the ring and ensure that it remained undisturbed. They knew that the Etherians, though no longer physical beings, still cared for the universe they had once called home. And so, the Valari continued their work, knowing that they were not alone in their mission. As the years passed, the ring became a symbol of hope and a reminder of what the Etherians had achieved. The Valari and the other species of the galaxy looked upon it with reverence, knowing that it represented the ultimate goal of all life, to transcend the limits of the physical world and become one with the cosmos. And so, the Valari and the Etherians remained connected, two races on different paths but with a shared purpose. The Valari continued to guide the younger species, always watching for the next race that might follow in the footsteps of the Etherians. And the Etherians, from their place beyond the stars, watched over the universe they had once inhabited, knowing that one day, others would join them in the infinite beyond. Millennia passed as the Valari continued their silent vigil over the galaxy, watching over the species that flourished under their guidance. The ring left behind by the Etherians became a sacred site, a place of pilgrimage for civilizations that had come to revere the ancient race that had ascended beyond the physical realm. The Valari themselves grew more distant, their own thoughts increasingly consumed by the enigma of the Etherian transcendence. But the universe is never static, and change, whether for better or worse, is inevitable. Across the galaxy, a new force began to rise. The Zayden, a species as ambitious as they were ruthless, had emerged from the shadows. Unlike the peaceful Etherians, the Zayden were conquerors, driven by a hunger for power and a disdain for those they deemed weaker. They saw the galaxy as theirs to rule, and the Valari, with their passive oversight, as relics of an era long past. The Zayden were brilliant engineers, and their technology surpassed that of any species the Valari had encountered since the Etherians. They had harnessed the energy of stars, created weapons capable of tearing apart planets, and developed ships that could traverse the galaxy in mere days. The Valari, concerned but confident in their own abilities, attempted to reach out to the Zayden, hoping to guide them towards a more peaceful path. But the Zayden had no interest in the wisdom of the Valari. They sought the secrets of the Etherians and the power they believed the ancient ring held. In a daring move, the Zayden fleet advanced toward the ring, brushing aside the few defenses the Valari had placed around it. The Valari, shocked by the sudden aggression, scrambled to protect the sacred structure, but they were too late. The Zayden unleashed a barrage of energy beams and gravitational weapons, intending to break through whatever barriers the Etherians had left behind and claim the ring's power for themselves. As the first wave of Zayden weapons struck the ring, something unimaginable happened. The ring, which had remained silent for countless eons, began to resonate with a deep, otherworldly hum. The Zayden, undeterred, continued their assault, but their weapons seemed to have no effect. The ring's hum grew louder, vibrating through the very fabric of space, and the stars around it began to dim as though their light was being siphoned away. The Valari, realizing the danger, sent out a desperate message to the Zayden, urging them to stop. But the Zayden, confident in their superiority, ignored the warnings. They intensified their attack, determined to break the ring's defenses. Then, in a flash of light that outshone the galaxy itself, the ring activated. The Zayden fleet was instantly vaporized, their ships disintegrating as if they had never existed. The Valari watched in horror as the ring's energy continued to expand, encompassing the entire galaxy. For a moment, it seemed as though the universe itself was about to be torn apart, but then, just as suddenly, the energy dissipated, and the ring fell silent once more. When the light faded, the galaxy was changed. The Zayden, who had once threatened to dominate all, were gone, erased from existence, with not even a memory remaining. But more than that, the ring had altered the very fabric of the galaxy. The stars burned brighter, the planets seemed more vibrant, and life, in all its forms, began to flourish as never before. The Valari, stunned by what they